city of Mankato. I will first introduce myself. My name is Matt DeRose, and that's D-U-R-O-S-E. My title is Detective Commander for the Mankato Department of Public Safety. And I think what we'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and read through the press release, and I have some additional information that has been added to it for you, and then we'll certainly have some time afterwards for some questions if you have them. So, with that being said, on July 8th, 2011, the Mankato Department of Public Safety, the Minnesota State Patrol, and Gold Cross Ambulance responded to the intersection of North Victory Drive and Solar Drive in the city of Mankato. A 911 caller had reported that a female was lying in the area and did not appear to be breathing. First responders arrived and performed life-saving measures that were unsuccessful, and the female was then pronounced deceased on scene by Gold Cross Ambulance personnel. The initial investigation turned up no identification on the deceased female, and a description was given out to the media and public as soon as we could gather up the best description. She was observed to have multiple apparent stab wounds to her body. The investigators continued with the investigation in an attempt to learn the female's identity and what led up to finding her at that intersection. Police later received a call from a woman who had been concerned about her roommate not showing up for work, and there was no contact with her. That generated a phone call to us. Through additional interviews, investigators believe that we were able to identify the deceased woman and speaking with the caller and other people in the area. Upon identifying the deceased woman, a person of interest was developed shortly thereafter that investigators wished to speak with. That individual was later located in the city of Golden Valley and was taken into custody with the assistance of the Golden Valley Police Department and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. After the interview, that individual was transported back to the city of Mankato and was booked into the Blue Earth County Jail early this morning on the charges of second-degree intentional murder. An autopsy was conducted today by the Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office. I do not have the provisional report as of yet, so we are waiting on that. The cause and manner of death is going to be determined by the Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office, and we hope to have that information in the very near future to be able to continue on with the investigation and be able to provide. The investigation into the death is ongoing at this time. There will be additional information made available when possible, and that information will be sent out through our city's public information office. Currently, we are being assisted in this investigation by the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, but as I mentioned earlier, we had assistance from the Minnesota State Patrol, from Gold Cross Ambulance, as well as the Golden Valley Police Department. The individual who was arrested in Golden Valley is named Damon Christopher, with a hyphenated last name of Williams Tillman. He's a 19-year-old Golden Valley resident, and like I mentioned, he is being charged with second-degree intentional murder. With the permission and the authority of the Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office, we have been given permission to release the name and the identity of the victim. She has been identified as Jocelyn, J-O-S-S-E-L-Y-N, middle name of Marie, last name is Bishop, B as in boy, I-S-H-O-P. She is a 19-year-old female who has residences in both Mankato and Henderson.
Can you speak to the relationship between the two?
Right now, we do know that there was a previous relationship. To the extent of it, we don't know. That's part of the investigation that is ongoing at this time. We're gathering witnesses, people that knew them, and would be able to provide some additional information that would get us back to what brought them to that scene yesterday, how long they've known each other, what type of relationship they've had. Right now, we just have some very basic preliminary information that was gathered based on the brief interviews that were done yesterday. But as we get into speaking with family and friends more in depth, we'll be able to identify exactly what that relationship is.
How long was Jocelyn, quote unquote, missing in essence, in terms of the timetable? When did your witnesses give you a time frame on when maybe she had been gone?
We believe it's probably right around a half an hour, within a half an hour, an hour. The 911 call was generated at 2:37 p.m. The first responder on scene checked out at 2:39 p.m. So within 2 minutes, we had personnel on scene rendering aid. That was a police officer followed by fire personnel and additional police personnel, and then the ambulance personnel after that.
So when did the roommate call them? So
roommate called, it was approximately 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock at night?
Yep.
And you have people who saw her even as early as 2 p.m. or as late as 2 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, we went down to the scene, a lot of spray paint, kind of, you know, your evidence type spray paint that looks like investigators did on the street. And the
Correct.
street sign is down there.
Yep.
Was there some kind of incident, or are there unrelated things that happened in that same area?
Nope, that was all part of the crime scene team's processing of the area and of the scene. The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension's crime scene team came down to assist with that, and just as their natural processing, as they locate pieces and bits of evidence, it's just generic and general markings that they would identify those pieces of evidence then.
Do we think the street sign fell down in part of this, whatever happened down there? There's the intersection sign is down on the ground. And
I don't know which sign you're.
the, what is it, North Victory and Solar, you know, it's a two-pronged
Okay.
with a stop sign, and it's down on the ground, as if someone knocked it over.
I did not see that yesterday when we were out there, so I don't know if it has any relevance to this case or if it's something that's completely unrelated.
Matt, do we know where the assault took place? Was it at that scene, or was it, do you know if it happened somewhere else and she was dumped there, or?
Part of that is based on what we're gonna learn from the official reports from the crime scene team. They mark their evidence, they gather it, they document it, they have to then put it into a report and be able to piece it together to be able to provide that to us. We have to gather all the police reports, people did ground searches out there, and we have to be able to put all that together to be able to identify where we believe this happened, comes in with statements, and the evidence and reports that'll come in, so we don't know exactly quite yet, but we do hope to know that.
Now, what time was he arrested at?
Mankato students?
Pardon me?
Were they both Mankato State students? Do we know if they had any?
I don't know everything related to that, we'll have to go up through the college.
Who discovered the victim there? Who was the first person that discovered it?
It was a passerby. If you've been out to the area, it's a industrial area that's being, there's a road that's being constructed out there. So there's frequent semi-truck traffic that goes through that area. And it just happened to be one of the trucks that was passing through.
What time did you arrest the suspect at, and were Mankato officers physically present for the arrest?
I don't know the exact time, but Mankato officers and the BCA were present.
Okay.
We sent a contingent of officers and investigators from Mankato up to meet some of the metro area BCA agents and Golden Valley Police to be able to be in on the arrest and identification of them.
With the decision to, you know, forward this with a second-degree murder charge, did he give you some kind of admission in this interview?
Right now, I'm not going to comment on anything that he has commented on. Again, that goes back to just the ongoing nature of it, and we want to make sure that anything that he has said at this point, we need to continue to identify witnesses and anybody else that's going to have any additional information. We want to make sure that the information that they provide is not tainted, and what he says as well.
Did you turn up a knife?
Not going to comment on any evidence that has been recovered or not been recovered.
Can you just speak to, I mean, dealing with murder, dealing with a situation where a girl's basically dumped on a median, for you having to do with something like that, can you just speak to that and how it kind of affects you?
Well, I can say personally, and just in speaking with everybody else that was working this and is working this, until we received that phone call from the deceased friend, this was going to be a very difficult case. With no identification, no way of knowing who we were dealing with, it would make it difficult to proceed with the investigation any farther. The moment we got that call, the moment we were able to corroborate that information, look into it farther, find photos, and be able to identify her, that's really what set the rest of the investigation in motion, allowed for the identification of somebody that was of interest, and speaking with the friends, able to give us names, phone numbers, addresses, things like that. So really, until we got that phone call, there was a period of time where we were concerned about where we would go with the next steps of the investigation.
Can you comment if there have been any previous contacts between the suspect and the victim?
That we'd have to go through our records division. I haven't had the chance to look through the previous contacts. I'm guessing that somebody has at this point. I just haven't seen those reports as of yet.
Was there definitely a vehicle involved? They were on foot or anything like that when it happened?
That's one of the things that we're looking into. We know that there is some surveillance out there. There's, you know, and just in speaking with all of the construction workers and semi-drivers that we can, you know, again, we do have a long list of people that we do need to interview. So just not quite sure 100% positive on that yet, but it's one of the things that we do need to identify in this investigation.
history of suspect? Is there one?
Nothing that I am aware of.
It has to be fairly unusual for this city, 2:30 in the afternoon, I mean, that's,
In the area where it was, and again, if you've been out there, it's an industrial area, it's becoming more and more developed, but those trucks are going through there 3, 4, 5 minutes apart. 2:30 in the afternoon on a Friday, there is a considerable amount of traffic. It's just off of Highway 22 where there's an even greater amount of traffic, so very unusual. And just to let everybody know, this is the previous homicide that we had in the city of Mankato occurred in March of 2010, so that was the most recent to this.
I think it was said that the friend was concerned that she hadn't shown up at work. When was that work shift that she didn't show up?
That's one of the things that we're trying to identify with her employer, is trying to find out when she was scheduled for work, talking with other coworkers and friends and trying to figure out a good time frame to be able to put that all together.
Did you say earlier that people had seen her as recently as 2 o'clock?
It was between the 1 and 2 o'clock hour, and that's part of the timeline that we're trying to definitely hammer down and to get more specific with.
Was she seen with the suspect?
That I'm not gonna comment on.
And just out of curiosity, you said she wasn't carrying ID. Was she dressed as if jogging? Can you describe, was she in jogging clothes? Was she going to work? Did she have a work uniform? What was her?
No, what she was wearing, and part of what we had given out to the media and the public immediately yesterday, was a white and green tank top with black shorts. She wasn't wearing any footwear at the time, so very casual wear, hanging out, lounging type clothes, I would consider them.
No shoes.
No shoes.
Was her residence anywhere near the scene?
No.
Does evidence show she was actually dumped at this site?
That I won't be able to comment on. Again, it's part of the evidence processing and working with the crime scene team to know what brought her to that exact location where she was found.